WWE SmackDown vs. Raw 2008 released at a time where my interest in professional wrestling wasn't just waning, it was on life support. I'd hoped that the first SVR game to hit the next generation of PlayStation consoles might revitalize my love for what was my favorite hobby for the majority of my life. Long story short, it did not get the job done. Not only that, but overall, SmackDown vs. Raw 2008 just wasn't a very good game. I did a whole episode on it earlier this season. I won't repeat all my points now. That's old news. Today we turn our sights to the sequel, a game I've never played for more than 5 minutes because, like I said before, I was out. I was done with wrestling from 2008 to 2011. This game released while I was completely out of touch. Taking a look at it today, in 2024, was it just another forgettable slog like SVR 08? Or did I miss out on a great installment in the series? Today on Triangle X Squared Circle, the Wrestling Game Retrospective Series, we dive deep into WWE SmackDown vs. Raw 2009. Every video here on 616 Entertainment is made possible by my supporters over on Patreon. If you enjoyed the show here today, consider signing up. You'll get early access, exclusive videos and podcasts and more. Pro Wrestling Tees has the merch. As always, thank you for watching. So what did I miss? What did SmackDown vs. Raw 2009 bring to the table? If you consider the series to have started with WWF SmackDown in 2000, which I don't, but maybe you do, this would be the 10th game in the series. I personally separate the SmackDown and SmackDown vs. Raw series as their own franchises, but even then, this would be the 5th SmackDown vs. Raw video game. Over the years, we'd seen new match types, new wrestlers, new game modes. There was always something new to look forward to. All of those things are here in SmackDown vs. Raw 2009, and we'll get into all of that. But what was leading the charge? Which new feature stood above all the others, at least as far as the marketing was concerned? Well, how about tag team matches? I found this strange at the time, as WWE didn't really have much going on in that era as far as tag team wrestling was concerned. In the early 2000s, we had the Hardy Boys, the Dudley Boys, Edge and Christian, the New Age Outlaws, the APA, Billy and Chuck, the Un-Americans, the Hollies, Kai and Tai, Too Cool, X Factor, TNA. At any given time, any of these teams could be tag team champions. In 2008, 2009, the tag team scene barely existed, and that's being generous. To focus your new video game on an aspect of the show that barely exists is a bizarre choice. It's like if the reveal trailer for AEW Fight Forever 2 was like, appeal to the fans on the hard cam side. Anyway, before we get into the gameplay changes, let's talk about this trailer. First of all, it's entirely pre-rendered, which we should be used to by now. SVR 07's trailer was bizarre and pre-rendered too. But who the hell made this? Did they really not know that Matt Hardy doesn't do the Twist of Fate like this? This was something Jeff did, and only a few times. Anyway, now wait, hold on, what is going on with the Swanton Bomb animation? This not only doesn't look anything like Jeff Hardy's actual move, but this animation doesn't even exist in the game. What happened here? Maybe it was thrown together really fast just to get the announcement out. Who knows? Anyway, the gameplay. How exactly does this complete rehaul of the tag team match affect our experience? Well, we've got tag team finishers now. In my head, I pictured the spot where Shawn super kicked Taker right into a pedigree. And then when I popped Triple H and Shawn's tag team finisher, they did the heart attack. It was an animation that dated all the way back to WWF SmackDown 2 from nearly 10 years prior. Okay. Undertaker and Kane's tag team finisher also dates back to the exact same game. The Hardys at least have a new animation. The game doesn't adjust who does what in order for it to fit the proper roles, but at least it's new? Look, the overhauling of the tag team match was overblown, overhyped, and there's barely a difference here. Hot tags make whoever is doing them look like an idiot. Luckily, there are much cooler things to talk about than tag team matches. Man, what a terrible way to lead the marketing of this game. Road to WrestleMania is what Yuke's and THQ should have led with. Why? Because this is pretty damn cool. Imagine a truncated version of season mode. We're talking a couple hours long, with fully voiced characters, interesting storylines, and a ton of effort into making the experience special. Look, I played through CM Punk's Road to WrestleMania, where we're chasing the ECW Championship. Listen to the personalized crowd chants and commentary.
Whoa! Hardy and Punk! This one's gonna be ridiculous, Styles!
You're right there, partner. These are two of WWE's hottest young stars, and you can be sure they're going to give it their all.
Maybe I'm alone, but little touches like this go a long way for me. The storyline has the extreme rules ECW became famous for, being outright banned for the safety of the show's competitors.
CM Punk has captured the ECW Championship.
Yeah, but at what cost? Dreamer looks really hurt out there. You people love Extreme Rules matches? Well, I'll tell you what, it takes a huge toll on us. It's the single reason I had to retire.
When a superstar is injured, it's bad for business, and my family doesn't like that. Thanks to Taz's concerns, I'm hereby abolishing extreme matches. Effective last week. That means CM Punk's win at Royal Rumble is negated. And I need him to come out right now to relinquish the ECW Championship.
What, that's it? Sorry, CM, no more title? You're too extreme for ECW?
This is good shit, man. I get a kick out of the goals being laid out on reminder notes that our character apparently wrote for themselves. Do we have a memory problem or something? Does our character also leave behind reminder notes at home for taking showers and brushing his teeth? How silly can you get? But the best in the world isn't the only superstar with his own angle. We've actually got 6 different roads to WrestleMania to explore. The Undertaker's journey is... holy shit. This has got to be one of the strangest pieces of business ever included in a WWE video game. I won't spoil the whole thing for you. You can check it out for yourself. Chris Jericho, Triple H, and John Cena have their own paths as well, but the tag team of Rey Mysterio and Batista star in the first ever multiplayer experience of this kind. Again, why the hell did they not lead with this as the main attraction of SVR 2009? Road to WrestleMania is great. I personally appreciate that these are only a couple hours apiece. Short and sweet, you move on to the next one, bing bang. They don't overstay their welcome. You know what also didn't overstay its welcome? GM mode. And by that I mean, it's gone. One of the most popular features or game modes in franchise history. It made its debut in SmackDown vs. Raw 2006, carried through 07 and 08, and it's already dead. I seem to recall THQ conveniently forgetting to tell consumers that the mode would be removed, and upon inserting the disc into your console of choice, it was like, wait, where's GM mode? Gotta love that, right? Now might be a good time to talk about everything we've lost. The Buried Alive match has been cut as well. It was never even presented correctly in the first place, and rather than put any effort into fixing it, Yuke's opted to just pull it entirely. Cool. Fighting in the crowd, which was one of the main selling points of the 2007 iteration of the franchise, has also been removed. Create a Championship has been killed. Fighting styles, one of the main selling points of SVR 08, which was... fighting styles were dog shit. They've been cut as well. Many of the abilities attached to fighting styles, such as the mounted punching or springboard attacks, They're still here, they're just not nailed down to weird, restrictive archetypes anymore. I must note, though, that there are new restrictions in place. Here in this match between CM Punk and Tommy Dreamer, you can see me attempting to stack these tables over and over again. It never worked, so I just assumed that stacking tables was another cut feature. It turns out that starting in SmackDown vs. Raw 2009, you need a specific perk to be able to stack tables, and CM Punk apparently doesn't have it. I hate this shit. These restrictions would get worse in later SmackDown vs. Raw games and WWE 2K games, but here it is, in its infancy. This is getting into the area for me, I'm just going to be honest with you guys, where I feel like this is almost not airable. Because my frustration is going to come through. Stop walking around the ring post! Just break through the fucking wall! I kind of skipped over the moment-to-moment gameplay to dive right into the new and missing features there, didn't I? Let's take a second and just put it out there. THQ and Yuke's must have really taken the criticism of SVR 08's gameplay to heart, because they've gone out of their way to make some very important changes. The slowness, the snail's pace, dull, boring movement and motion of the prior game is gone. SmackDown vs. Raw 2009 looks like it's moving faster than the prior installment, because it is. Oh my god, this is a fantastic piece of course correction. What's a little funny is that upping the speed back to its normal pace kind of makes 2009 feel like 2007, but with graphics that mirror 2008. It's a hodgepodge. It's a mishmash. This is like the last 3 SVR games were thrown into a blender on the highest setting. In some ways, that's a good thing. In other ways, it's not. More on that later. 2009 brings us the debut of signature moves. John Cena's got the FU in his back pocket, right? Jeff Hardy will look to finish you with the Swanton Bomb, you know? But the 5-knuckle shuffle, or the whisper in the wind, while not finishing maneuvers, are not just run-of-the-mill moves we should be pulling out whenever we feel like it. Earning a special and storing it for later transforms it into a signature move. I like this. And speaking of finishers and things I like, I think we should take a look at the mode that allows us to create a finisher. Is the pedigree a fantastic move? Yes. The go to sleep, the 619, the tombstone. If there was a hall of fame for wrestling maneuvers, these would all be first ballot choices. But ever since we were kids, we always wanted to have our own finishing move, right? Whether you experimented with your action figures or put your bash and brawler through the ringer, you wanted to find your own flavor. WWE SmackDown vs. Raw 2009 is the first time we've ever been able to put our moves into practice in a video game. When I was like 10 years old, I came up with this move that was like a Death Valley driver combined with a jackhammer. Here in SVR 09, my daydreams can be realized in the digital realm. Awesome. And also, years later, I saw Keith Lee do this on NXT or something, and I was like, that's my move! I made that up! It's so funny. What's really cool, though, is creating a little something special for a pre-existing superstar. I always cooked up storylines with my action figures where guys would have to hit a brand new variation of their tried and true move in order to put down an extremely tough opponent. Can you imagine John Cena having to hit a reverse FU? That's fantastic. Imagine this. Randy Orton actually sucks. He acts like a modern day, zero psychology, bottom of the barrel wrestler. Introducing the 2024 Indie Ass RKO. 9 unnecessary steps to accomplish the same old shit. And all that only for a 2 count. What do you think? Man, creative finisher is fun. Why it took so long to give us something like this, who knows, but it's here now. It's nice to have the freedom to craft the offense that your opponent truly deserves.
That must mean she's the most relentless diva on the roster.
While we're on the topic of creation, let's put over highlight reels. What are highlight reels? I'm about to tell you. Relax. This mode allows us to save the last 30 seconds of action at any given point, which we can then import into the mode and basically edit into an awesome little spot. We have complete freedom over camera angles, when to cut, slow motion, graphics on the screen, and all sorts of things. Having never played SVR09 before, this was my first real experience with highlight reels, and I have to say, this is awesome. Had I purchased this game when it released, I probably would have logged dozens of hours in this editor, cooking up the coolest spots possible. Major shout out to Gwenoki here, a longtime Dan who created her own show called EXE. Gwen's use of highlight reels for EXE was brilliant. Seamless transitions between raw gameplay and cultivated spots. Gwen, bring back EXE for Season 2, would you? Thank you. I've been very complimentary for the last several sections of this retrospective, and I think it's time we even things out. Because I do have a good deal of complaints. I will try my best to rocket through these as to not slow things down to a crawl. So here we go. How are you going to have a King of the Ring tournament mode and there's no King of the Ring arena? Come on now. The belts still look awful. They're so small. Well, sometimes. The tag belts look perfect. The ECW belt is pretty good. Why is it that the biggest and most important championships are the ones presented like shit? Maria's model is awful and looks nothing like her. I once ran into Maria at a Five Guys, and not only was she extremely nice, she's the type of gorgeous that'll make you want to light yourself on fire. They did her dirty here. Look at this! No, that's not Melania Trump. That's supposed to be Stephanie McMahon. What happened here? This whole thing reminds me of the off-putting renders on the select screen. Ukes were doing this weird thing at the time where they would superimpose a real photograph of a wrestler's face onto a digital model, and they're just not right. Chris Jericho has a theme song in this game that I've literally never heard before. Now granted, I wasn't watching wrestling at the time, but I also have no recollection of Shawn Michaels using a modified figure 4 as a finisher. Who can educate me on this? Was it like one storyline where he used this and the developers were like, hey, make sure Shawn has that new move, or something like that? Let me know. Also, what the hell is a normal submission match? Normal? As opposed to what? I imagine some hillbilly booking this, like, it's gonna be a normal submission match. None of them fucking fancy submissions, okay? Keep it simple. Career mode kinda sucks too. It's just a list of matches, all one-on-one, where eventually we can unlock gimmick matches, one at a time. We win the title we're gunning for, and rather than defending it or getting involved in a storyline, it's just on to the next belt to repeat the same process. Boring. You know what's not boring? Lighting a son of a bitch on fire. That's right, the Inferno match is here in SmackDown vs. Raw 2009. Every big bump cranks up the temperature gauge in the lower left-hand corner of the screen, and when that thing hits 500, the fire rises. Dragging your opponent toward the ropes is all it takes to light them up. This is pretty awesome. Hey, sometimes art imitates life, doesn't it? Pants on fire, as they say. There's a brand new camera angle outside of the ring that I think was supposed to feel more like the television presentation, but it doesn't. These angles did not exist on TV. It's cool because it's new, but these strange angles make it hard to pull off what would otherwise be pedestrian maneuvers. Look at me struggling to lean him against the table here. You have to be dead center for your opponent to flip up onto the table, and the camera being anchored down in that corner means it's impossible to find the sweet spot. That's annoying. Hey, where the hell can I get some smack pizza? They're advertising it across the skyboxes in every arena. I even found some backstage during this brawl, but I'd like to try it in real life. Anybody got any leads? Look at these ads. WWE. Excellent creativity. Do you think red smack pizza and blue smack pizza taste different? Guys, I need to know. Every new WWE game comes with an updated roster. We all know this. Sometimes, like the jump from Shut Your Mouth to Here Comes the Pain, the landscape changes in a major way, and for the better. But other times, the losses outweigh the gains. We've got Big Daddy V here now, along with Kofi Kingston, Zack Ryder, Kurt Hawkins, the debut of The Miz, and more. But look who didn't carry over from SmackDown vs. Raw 2008. We lost The Rock, Stone Cold, Bret Hart, Mick Foley, The Sandman, Sabu, Booker T. I could keep going. This is the first time since 2003's SmackDown Here Comes the Pain that the legend branding has been completely removed. I have absolutely no idea what the excuse for these guys not being here is, as it's not like they were no longer under WWE contracts. As a matter of fact, the vast majority of the names I just mentioned are present in WWE Legends of WrestleMania, a completely separate release that featured a roster transfer option. You could take Jeff Hardy and CM Punk from this game and put them into that game. But pulling The Rock and Stone Cold and Bret Hart from Legends of WrestleMania into SVR09, no dice. That's bullshit. I'm sorry, that sucks. This was also the first SVR game to feature downloadable wrestlers after release, too, with Doink, Vader, the Bushwhackers, and more joining the fray. I'm really glad the Bushwhackers are here and not Austin or The Rock. Sick. I learned from the cutting room floor, an awesome source for abandoned and unused features in video games, that a fully functional version of The Godfather is tucked away inside the game's files. Never was he advertised or released to the public in any capacity. What the hell happened here? This is bizarre. WWE SmackDown vs. Raw 2009 released on November 9th, 2008. Did it sell well? Yes, it did, to the tune of over 4 million copies. Critics applauded the new Road to WrestleMania mode, but knocked it for the dated and some would say stale gameplay. I realize that I haven't been sharing my usual personal stories from my younger years in this episode, but as you know from the beginning, I was not in touch with wrestling at the time that this game was the new hotness. I was totally checked out. I assumed that awfully slow look and feel of SVR 08 had continued on into the future, so I wasn't even worried about it. But visiting this game now, here in 2024, I have to say, I'm impressed. My thoughts and feelings on SmackDown vs. Raw 2009 are much more positive than I would have predicted. The gameplay is sped back up to a normal pace. Road to WrestleMania is a fun new avenue to explore, and I appreciate creative finisher and highlight reels. The roster is middling, a lack of a real season mode sucks, GM mode being killed is a horrible loss, but none of these issues make SVR 09 a bad game in my book. When I covered SmackDown vs. Raw 2008, I said I would not recommend it, that there are better WWE games that released before and after that installment. When it comes to 2009, I mean, there are still better games that released before and after this one, but if you're asking me which one you should play between 2008 and 2009, the answer is 09, and it's not even a debate. I do find that this gameplay is getting very old. In the 3 years between SVR 2007 and 2009, almost nothing major has really changed mechanically. Not only that, but once again, I've never lost a match in this game. Ever. It is so easy, even on the hardest difficulty. My average match time was around 4 minutes long, which was a far cry from just a few years ago. One of my greatest compliments toward the first SmackDown vs. Raw game was issued at the more realistic, longer wrestling matches. Man, that's already gone, and it's a shame. People complained that AEW Fight Forever's matches were only a few minutes long, and hey, you better keep that same energy here for what you consider a classic SVR game, you know? So did I miss a great entry in the franchise while I was on my hiatus from wrestling? No, I don't think so. I would say SVR 09 is pretty good, but it's not near the top. This is not one of the best wrestling games ever made, that's for sure. I know many of you in the comments have great memories with this one, and as always, I would love to hear your stories. Let me know what your experiences were like. I will be reading. Thank you for watching this installment of Triangle X Squared Circle, the Wrestling Game Retrospective Series. Man, so many episodes, still so many games to cover. I think with this next one, we're gonna head off the beaten path, down the deep, dark road of MTV's Celebrity Deathmatch. Oh god, why am I doing this? If you'd like to support me, my work, and the channel, as well as unlock the exclusive seasons of Let's Play Friday, GM Showdown, and Monday Night Blitz 3, sign up over on patreon.com/616entertainment at any level you choose. You'd even be bringing us one step closer to unlocking the final goal on this list. Let's do it. Until next time, Dan Dans, I love ya, and I thank you for watching.